Hey folks, welcome to another installment of the Mood Room. This is the first time the Mood Room's being videotaped. As you can see, I'm joined here with my friend Sterling. We met last week. We were on the show talking about PTSD. Say hello, Sterling.
How are you?
I hope you took a listen to the show. If not, please do so. I'm excited. There's been a lot of development since the last time we talked, and things are moving pretty quickly. So I'm also excited to just have video for the first time. So you're going to get to see my face. Hopefully next time I'll be more prepared with a little bit of a set. But I'm excited to talk to everybody and actually be able to interact more directly with video. So here we go. So now what we're going to do is, last time we talked about PTSD, we did a little bit of an introduction. And we kind of gave you an idea of where we're coming from and the direction that we wanted to go. So what we're going to do is now we're going to kind of start over, now that we have video, and we're going to kind of reintroduce again. I know it's kind of redundant, but you'll get more detail this time around, just in terms of what exactly we're trying to do. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask Sterling some questions, and then he's going to answer them, and then we'll just keep going from there. It'll be basically a little bit of a back and forth dialogue kind of situation. And then what I'd like to see at the end here, when we talk about what we want to do for the next show, I'd like to see some interaction from you, and write some questions in the comments, and then we'll take those questions and we'll add them to the next show. Again, I like to say it off the top, if you enjoy the show, even if you don't enjoy the show, make a comment on there. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what you'd like to see different. Tell us what we can do better. But the point of it is, we're trying to spread some awareness about this issue. And we'd also like anybody to like, subscribe, share, so that the information can get out there to the world. And I think that most people watching and listening to the show would agree that this is something that needs to be happening, and it'll benefit just about everybody, because it's something that can be applied to just about everybody. I can't think of a person who wouldn't benefit. Not one person. Exactly. Because, like we said last time, this is not a matter of just dealing with stuff that's traumatic. I mean, that's going to be like what seemed like a major focus, because those things have more of a direct impact. Yeah, go ahead.
But before you go into that, let's go back into the beginning of PTSD and explain to them what PTSD is, and to explain to them what PTSD is, so that they understand that it's not just traumatic.
Right. Now that'll answer the what I'm getting to. Okay, so let's go from the top. Tell us what PTSD, what the letters stand for, and give us a little bit of introduction to PTSD and why you want to do what you want to do with PTSD in terms of creating this business and being able to help people. Again, we did a little introduction last time, but we didn't get into real much detail. So I'm going to hand it off to Sterling just a little bit, and he'll start talking, then I'll kind of just jump in and we'll go back and forth. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about PTSD.
Well, PTSD means post-traumatic stress syndrome. I was in the military. I was in the Navy, and my ship, we bombed Libya in 1980. It was 1986, I think. We bombed Libya, and we killed over 250 people. PTSD, again, I said, is post. That means after a traumatic stress, post-traumatic stress syndrome. So it's after a traumatic stress that it gives you after effects. And me being in the military, I was taught how to kill. I was taught how to be a soldier. I was taught how to kill and keep my wits about me to perform my duties and to protect the man beside me as though he would protect me. But PTSD is not only for police officers and military. PTSD is for anybody that's seen a really bad accident, and there was a lot of trauma, if you will, or the mother or somebody in your family dying around you. See, that's a traumatic stress. But you don't have to go that deep when you use the word traumatic, because what is traumatic to one person may not be traumatic to you.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because you take a child that's born in Libya around war and death all the time. Is death traumatic to that child? No. But you take a child from the United States, from the urban area, urban neighborhood, death is traumatic to that child. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So what is traumatic? It's something that devastatingly affected you. It doesn't have to affect everybody the same way.
Absolutely. So you talked about Libya, right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk ask you some questions about your experience there in terms of, so we can get a understanding of how you coped with that, how you're able to cope with that trauma, and how that has affected you in a way to make you want to be able to help other people cope with whatever they're dealing with. And I won't necessarily say trauma, but ultimately it is trauma. It's just different levels of it, like you said earlier. Okay? So you talked about bombing 150 people. Is that what you said? 250 people, right? So what I want my viewers to do is just take themselves and put themselves in that situation. Now, granted, you haven't gone through military training, right? But I think that most of you value human life. Okay? Just as a general.
But to add on, maybe some of you are from the military or retired from the police or retired from EMT. So don't disclude yourself.
Right. So I want you to kind of just take yourself and put yourself in that scenario where you are now going to be taking 250 lives, right? So my question to you, Sterling, is now, how did that impact you? How did you cope with it? So the first of it, how did it impact you mentally, right?
Well, as you go to boot camp, I was prepared to kill.
Mm-hmm.
I was prepared to kill for my country. I was prepared to kill for what we believe is right.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that I was going to kill so many. I thought, when I went through training, I'm thinking I'm just going to kill maybe one or two, maybe three people.
Right.
250 people in one wop. I was proud to do it for America. And at that moment, you're trained not to feel. It's after. That's why it's PTSD. It's post. After you're not serving, after you're done with that mission, that's when it affects.
So it's like you get hit with this craziness of taking 250 lives, right? You get hit with that. So the military prepares you to do the act of killing. But when it comes to dealing with the aftermath of that, they don't prepare you.
That is why we're here.
Right.
You hit on, see, John, that's why me and you're going to link up and we're going to make sure that we get this out. Because they train you how to kill. They train a police officer how to protect. They train EMT workers how to mend bones that are sticking out, babies, car accidents where there's death. They teach you how to do the job, but they don't, how would I say, detrain you. They don't train you how to stop that motion, how to blend back into society when it's over, when you retire.
Right.
That's the problem.
One of the things you mentioned last time we did the show is you built up a tremendous anger inside of you, and it needs release. And part of that, and again, we talked about the different levels of it, right? So when we implement this into everyday life, there's different levels of frustration and anger. And what it is we will have the ability to take what we know and apply it to any aspect of anybody's lives and have them have the ability to cope with that anger and that frustration. You talk about people going postal. You talk about people getting frustrated at jobs, walking out.
Suicide,
right. The goal there is that we're trying to have people, and nothing is perfect. Every person is different. Every case has to be treated differently. That's just the bottom line. But what we want to do is we want to make an awareness for people, so they're not blindsided with dealing with the aftermath of the trauma or the stress or whatever, so they can be better equipped and have the tools to be able to handle that sort of thing.
Because people have to know the stages, and when we say there are stages, people have to understand that, one, is there such thing as somebody that is overexposed with PTSD? Is there such thing as being subjected to PTSD and saved and helped? Is there a level of going too far, like a murderer, if you will, a mass murderer, if you will, the people that shot up the McDonald's and shot up the movie theater and shoot up the schools the schools and everything like that? Can they be fixed? That's not going to be in this conversation. That's going to be in our next one. Can they be fixed? See, that's the thing. That's what people out here and on our broadcast wants to know. What is too far? What is, when we say the levels of trauma, if you will, I won't say anger, I would like to say trauma, the level of trauma. Okay, if you are driving in a car and you hit a dog,
mm-hmm.
what level of trauma is that? If you, like, every job has a level
mm-hmm.
of stress.
So, for instance,
every job has a level of stress.
So,
go ahead.
So, for instance, just to give you an idea of how you would implement it in everyday work, jobs, and all that kind of stuff. So, let's say you work at a movie theater, right? And you are at the ticket stand, right? And one of the things that they do is they have it so that they stop people from bringing outside food in. That's how theaters make their business. They charge all those ridiculous prices, and that's how they make their money, right? So then, as part of what we will be bringing in there is every job would have a layout of the different levels of stress that the person would be dealing with. Every single job within that business would have a layout, right? So you take specifically...
Not every single job within that business. Every job in the United States, every job in anywhere in the world has a level of stress.
Right.
And what we're going to do is map it out so that the employee and the employer
mm-hmm.
understand that if you are applying to be a police officer,
mm-hmm.
the first thing that they need to have a pamphlet to tell you is what's the level of PTSD. They need to have a PTSD orientation,
mm-hmm.
and if the level is over a certain amount, they have to bring in your wife, your loved
family.
one, to give them an orientation of the type
of what
the level, not type, the level of PTSD you will be exposed to,
right? Because
and how to handle it,
right? Because right now, when you throw people into those jobs, there is nothing set up for the wife to know what that man is dealing with. There's nothing set up for that man to know to not take certain things home or to not involve his family with certain aspects of his job, because it all gets internalized for the most part.
And where's that important? That is important because you see most police officers, EMT workers, football players, MMA fighters, soldiers. What is the divorce rate for these people? And the reason why the divorce rate is high is because the level of stress in that man or woman that's in that position, because
mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be a man, there are women EMT workers, she'll go home. They'll go home to their loved ones, and their loved ones automatically start bombarding them before they can deload.
Right. So they've been dealing with all kind of craziness all day long, and now what we would bring to the table is the wife would know how to deal with that or husband or wife would know how to deal with a person that works in whatever environment they're working in, and then because if you don't have that knowledge and understanding of dealing with people that are dealing with a lot of stuff outside of their homes, you tend to not you tend to just bombard them with whatever, not considering what they've been going through. It's a little bit of empathy.
But ignorance. It's just ignorance, and people think that's a bad word. It just means you just don't know.
Right.
And what it does is it makes a 10-year relationship like microwave.
Right.
You know, you go through in 2 years, you went through a 10-year relationship. It makes you feel that way, and then you get tired of it quickly, and then there's a divorce.
Resentment
now,
comes.
What that leads to is suicide, Because here you are, a newlywed man. You just wed your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Your plans is to be with her for 20 years, 10 years, 20 years. You get a job as a police officer. That's a great job. It has a lot of respect involved in it, a lot of honor involved in it, good pay. What can go wrong? You're not going to cheat on her. You don't see where you and her are going to break up.
Mm-hmm.
You have children, you buy a house, you get her a car, you have a car. 2 years later, she's filing for a divorce. That could have been avoided if the police department, EMT department, fire department, MMA company, football players, whatever, soldier, military. If the level is that high in those places I just talked about, and they're just to name a few,
right?
Just to name a few, they were supposed to orientate me, the soldier, and what I am going to be exposed to, and my wife,
right,
and have training for her to deal with me, the police officer, the EMT worker, to say when he comes home, you must give him at least an hour.
Right. Because think about it like this. I'm just using the extreme ones just so you can get a quicker understanding of what we're talking about. So let's say either we're a cop, right? And we had to do like a SWAT situation, and we had to kill a kid, or we had to kill whoever.
By mistake.
Or whatever, or on purpose. And the kid pulled a gun and you got to do whatever it is, right? So now I come home, and now unfortunately, and this is what we're talking about, the police, they or whatever agency, it's not a priority for them to prepare you to deal with that level of stress and trauma, right? They have some things in place, but they're not extensive. It's not a priority. It's not a lot of money in it.
But see, the wrong thing is, when you kill a person, they do have in place for you to go to a psychiatrist. How is that non-productive? Because you're going. You and your wife should go to the...
Right.
See,
the whole family should be...
Now your wife don't know you shot a kid. You go into the psych, internal affairs. You go to the psych and the thing. So on your way, you do call your loved one, your spouse. If you're a woman, you call your man. If you're a man, you call your woman. And you tell them, I made a mistake. I shot a child. I'm depressed about it. You go to the psych. She needs to go with you.
Right. Because she got to know how to cope with it.
She got to know what you've been told.
She got to know, right.
If the psych gives you certain criteria or certain things to do,
right,
and she doesn't know it, and as you're doing what you're told to do, she interrupts it with, dump the trash. I got a flat tire, and you trying to say, I can't right now. See, you never have time for me. But she didn't know that he has to do certain things, This is what I'm saying. It's counterproductive to counsel half of the group. There's two of you at home, and if she or he doesn't know,
right,
that you need an hour to unwind when you get home, that you don't need to be yelled at because your job is already a yelling situation.
One of the things I've always said is you want to be able to be comfortable in your own home. So if you come home and you're coming into another stress environment, it can set you off.
And it will set you off.
You want to be comfortable at home.
Yes,
so
yes.
And this is not a matter of prioritizing who's more important when it comes to the family unit. This is for both sides, like he was just saying. This is for the wife, this is for the husband, this is for the kids. So that you can have a better understanding of how to deal with each other when it comes to this sort of thing.
A better quality of life. The quality of life that you planned on when you're a little boy, when you're a little girl, you dream about the union and the home, the kids. When you got hired in that position, you both felt that the quality of life is going to be exactly what you planned. But it's not if we don't maintain it by ordering jobs to disclose the amount of PTSD, the level of PTSD associated with every job in the world. There's not one job that doesn't have exposure.
Right. So let's bring it back a little bit.
Yes,
now,
sir.
what we wanted to do, we wanted to kind of talk about the beginning of PTSD, right? The actual beginning of it. And there was one point where we talked about how there was how it relates to sin. And
Or does it relate?
Or does it relate? Right. So I just wanted you to touch on that a little bit because we talked in private about it, and we talked a little bit about it on the other show, but we didn't really get into it too much. Just give us a little bit about the origin and what you think about the beginning of it, and because we touched on it, but we didn't get into it last time.
Very good. Well, we're going to have to begin one of these podcasts with the beginning of PTSD. So right now, what I'm going to do is give everybody out there a little bit of homework. I want to ask a question. Excuse me. Sin. Sin could have not begot without PTSD. PTSD is post-traumatic stress syndrome. Again, that I reiterate. And what started sin? So I would ask that PTSD is associated with sin. Without PTSD, you cannot have sin. Without being stressed, you will not sin. Okay? So we're going to get into that. We're going to have a whole podcast that is going to be dedicated to the beginning of it. But here's what I want to ask people to write in to try to answer themselves. Why did Eve, why would a newborn baby commit its first sin? How did sin begot? Your first sin, when you're a newborn baby and you just come out of your mother's womb, how can you be of sin? What did you do sin? You never sinned. You just came out. You just was born. When did that baby, and why did that baby make its first sin? And the answer to that has to be the same answer that can be applied to Eve. When Eve they said, God laid Adam down, took a rib, made him a mate, if you will, a partner. Mm-hmm. And the apple was eaten. Eve ate the apple. Why? Why was that sin ever committed? Because before it's who knows if it's an apple. It was just called a fruit, so we don't know which fruit it was.
Everyone's familiar with the apple.
Yeah, but so let's call it the apple. Let's stay on par with the course. So why was that apple bitten? Why? And see, like I said, when you find out, it has to be the lowest common denominator. It has to be the same answer that would fit why Eve committed the first sin and why a newborn baby commits its first sin and becomes sinner. And we want to leave the beginning as that because this is going to take the whole whole show.
We only got 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
So again, I just want people to be aware and spread the information. And this is going to get really in depth. My man here wrote a whole thesis on this. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through the thesis line by line. And it's going to take quite some time to get to the end of it because every bit of it is going to be discussed on this show. And what we would like is for interaction between you and us. You can ask questions. You can give suggestions. Just put it in the comment section. We're also going to have some guests on, people that anybody can come on the show. I don't discriminate. If you want to come on the show, just reach out to us through in the comments or through the links that'll be there. And we'll figure out a way to get you on the show, and we can discuss just about anything that pertains to what we're trying to do here.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If any of not ask a question, I would like to make a comment. If any of our viewers, and then we say our because my name is Sterling, and this is John, and we're going to collaborate in making. I would like to be a life coach, and I would like John to actually manage me in that field. So we would like to form groups, and we would like to know if any of our listeners has a big place where we can hold meetings, that could donate some space for us or some time, because right now there is we don't have any.
It's constraints. We're just starting out. We're trying to spread, and what we're trying to do is have it grow. We need support. And for anything, you're going to need support to spread. And understand that this is not a matter of just somebody trying to get rich or somebody trying to. This is something that we're trying to spread to help people and help ourselves.
Inform.
Right.
You know, not only is it going to help, it's going to inform you how to treat. How do you treat a child that saw another child get shot by a stray bullet?
Right.
So
I mean, look at the news now. You talk about these shootings in these schools. What kind of impact is that going to have on everybody involved? And like every like the things that I've seen is like they'll have your psychiatrists and all that kind of stuff.
But they're only they
right.
only do half the family.
Right.
So it's counterproductive. So what we're saying to you guys is everybody that's please, your comments.
Reach out.
Please
talk to us.
Volunteer, or we need a street team, because we're going to be handing out flyers. We need space that can be donated at this point. We need property, land, buildings, because we want to expand. We're not going anywhere. We're going forward.
And we are moving forward. We had some great developments today. We don't need to get into too much detail, but things are moving pretty quickly. So the quicker people get on board to help us move forward, the quicker we'll be able to get the message out and be able to spread what we because it's a process for all of us to learn more about it and to become better at what we're doing or what we're trying to do.
Please don't procrastinate, because the positions that are needed right now, the volunteer positions, the donations of land, space, property,
time.
It's gonna fill up pretty quickly, and then if you procrastinate and put it off, you want to join up, because we're gonna be making groups. We just say don't hesitate. You know, jump on board now.
One thing I can say about hesitation is people a lot of times they don't do things because of fear, and fear can stagnate you. Fear can have you become complacent. In my life, there's a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I'd have opportunities to do them, and I just, because of stagnation and fear, I just didn't take them seriously, and I didn't put all my energy into them. Right now, I work a lot, and I'd like to be able to put my energy into something that is meaningful, something that can help other people, and I need to be able to focus on this so that I don't have to work as much as I do, so that I can put my energy towards something that my heart can go towards. And, when you look at the average person, they're working at jobs that, they just don't like, and they're just going through just to make a paycheck to get by. And, I don't want to be that person. I want to be somebody.
Because your heart is here and helping people.
Right. And one of the reasons why I started doing the show is because there was so much negativity in the world. I just wanted to spread some positive information to people, to try to mobilize people to realize their potential and their power. Because the power is with the people. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but when people come together, they can achieve great things. They really can. Are there going to be ups and downs and obstacles? Absolutely. We've already had them. But the people that are successful are the ones that persevere. So I think I'll end the show with that. But I just want to talk. I already talked about it a little bit. I'm going to have some people join us, maybe the show after the next, just join the conversation. I think the next show we're going to start breaking down the thesis and giving more information and talking more directly about the work that this man has done and the knowledge that he has. Again, I'd like for you to put comments, like, subscribe, and share, and just let us know what you think. This is the Mood Room. This is a little different take on what we normally do. You'll see some of the other stuff when we get more free time, but just right now this is our focus. So I appreciate you listening. And that's going to do it for it. This is our first video. This is exciting, right?
Not only that, I want to thank you. My name is Mr. Sterling. I would like to thank you. And I would like to say, please, get on the list of being a guest on the show. Don't be afraid. You know, your comment is very
it's
important.
very laid back. We're very friendly. You don't, you know, it's people get a little bit afraid of being on camera and all that kind of stuff. But it's a very laid back situation. I will set you up before we get on. It's very, you know, I have a board I'm going to put up. We've done it before with a bunch of people. I had 5 in here one time doing the show. We never did video before, but this is, you know, it's fun. So again, like, subscribe, and share. We'll be back next week. Eventually, we will start doing more shows as time progresses and people have more time to do things. But right now, we're one show a week. We'd like to be doing it every day if we can. But we'll get there. And with your help, we definitely will get there. Thanks again for listening, and peace out.
Thank you.
I'll get an actual, saying for goodbye next time. But thanks again, and
thank you, and we'll speak to you next time.
Bye-bye.